Welcome to Cross Examinations. We've got lots of scripture. We got.
Sorry. Oh man, where is it? I did this cool thing where you could actually see. There I am. I'm there. I'm in the weird reflection, like I'm caught in another dimension. I'm where? Well, there I am. There I am. Anyways, welcome to Cross Examinations. Sorry, I'm having too much fun. Let me turn off Eric Nieltowski because I'm watching his show. Starting Cross Examinations. Bye. Boom. All right. Peace out, Eric. Let's jump over to my page. Miss Chanel. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Oh, let me mute that. Play it. What's up, Ray Thulu? Withheld. John Chadester. As you're here, hit that like button, please. Hit that share button. Click that little tweeter or the little Facebook or whatever. Going live. Join us. Join us. Scientism isn't scientific. Topic of the day on Cross Examinations. Welcome. I am your host, Mike S. Miller. Just a guy who has been studying about and studying the actual Bible for the past couple of decades. And comic book artist. What else can I say? Family man. As Edwin Boyd loves to call me, America's favorite comic book dad. Who disliked the video? Did you not like my rocking out intro? Just navigating that new streaming service PewDiePie is using. I'm going to do some investigating into that today because there has been some negative rumors about that. Yeah, D-Live. And I don't know if they're just, subversive rumors or what. So I'm gonna see what I can find out, and I will report back to you here on Blacklist Universe. Man, cryptocurrency is looking like the future, James Hayes. It is, and today's a down day, so you might want to. Well, I'm not going to give you any financial advice, but if I had the money to buy in, I would buy in today. But that's just me, not you. Don't listen to me. I know nothing. Tell us the rumors. Oh, just stuff about China and whatnot. So I'm gonna dive into it, look into it, see what I come up with. All right, let's see if anyone bothered commenting on yesterday's episode of Cross Examinations. It looks like, oh, I did. Fat Andy said something I'm not going to repeat on Cross Examinations, but he says, don't you mean, quote, female dogging, whining, and complaints of the sand crabs, LOL. I don't know what that means, like, at all. So, if someone can help me out there, that'd be great. Withheld says, Mike, I have just purchased a copy of the Game of Thrones book. Weren't you an artist for them? Yeah, I do the covers to the comic books, although I haven't done one in a while, and they haven't been bugging me, so I'm not sure. I could just turn them in on time every month, but usually it's like I wait for them to bug me about it, and then I'll do it. And they haven't bugged me for a while, so maybe they've forgotten about me. I'm too busy anyways. Your thoughts on Cersei Lannister? We all know how I feel about that. Starts with a C and rhymes with the... Well, let's not go there. Edit. There's this channel here on YouTube called Ideas of Ice and Fire. He's pretty good. I'd recommend him to you if you got like Game of Thrones and Dune. Yeah, that is Oh my gosh, his name just escaped me. Yeah, he's been on my show, actually. He's been on my show. Hate it when I forget somebody's name whose name I know. 3 minutes. But yeah, he's been on my show. And he may be this starting Monday on Order of the Green Hands channel. We're going to be doing the Night's Watch. Remember I used to do the Night's Watch here on my show? Well, on my channel. We're going to be doing it on Order of the Green Hand every Monday following the new Game of Thrones episodes. So that'll be fun. John Malin will be there. Order of the Green Hand. Maybe Ideas of Ice and Fire. I'll have to ask him again. Yellow Flash. I don't know. Possibly some other people. Don't know. It'll be kind of like a The Talking Dead, but more fun. Even Von Scriber says, have you ever done a cross-examinations on what turns people away from God and what brings them back? For me, it was poor witnesses. If you had any questions back in the day, the answer was always, just accept it or you're going to hell. Do as I say, not what I do types of things. I was just curious if anyone else had stories about losing their way and how they came back. Most people I've spoken to were the oldest child of a Christian family whose parents divorced when they were 12 to 15. Wow, that is very, very specific even, and a great topic. So why don't we spend the first half of this show before we get to Scientism isn't scientific? That has a weird question mark in it instead of an apostrophe. What the heck? Why does it have... It has an apostrophe in my thing. Huh. Anyways, why don't we do exactly that? If anyone has a story in the chat about how you walked away and then came back to the faith, let us know. Let us know. Isn't this a Game of Thrones religion discussion? No, it's not. Oli, you want to come in? Let me know. I will pop you in here for sure. For sure. Oli has walked away from his faith many, many times. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Hello and good day, Custom Elvis. John Chidester. Hello. Mr. Hellstorm. Peak concurrent. 27. 31 watching now. I don't know what to trust on any of these things. So. I've seen people driven away by hypocrites in the church. Yes, that is a constant. The problem is that where are they going to run to where there aren't hypocrites, right? I mean, human beings never live up to their own standards, and by that very definition, it makes every single one of us a hypocrite, doesn't it? If you can't live up to the standards of your own life, the only way you can live up to your own standards is by literally having no standards. Yes. I took one of my banners and I laid it over my door because it was more interesting than just a big black door. Sometimes people leave God because they have had a bad experience at church or because of an abusive pastor. Yeah, I mean, well, that's the funny thing, right? A pastor, I mean, they're just people. They're just people. And some are better than others. Some of God willing, they're not leading people astray on purpose, but sometimes it does happen. Hey, I heard, says withheld rather not say, I heard that some stories about Jesus were based off of stuff about Dionysus. So do we just ignore Josephus? Dionysus. He's not the one that was chopped up and brought back together by ISIS, was he? Put back together. I'm forgetting. But no, see, Jews would want to. Josephus was a Jew, and he would want to. He was not a Messianic Jew, right? So he would have some sort of a. And I don't remember seeing that in Josephus, but I'll just take your word for it for a second. He would have some sort of a bent in that direction, right? Like if you're writing a historical account and you don't believe something to be true, you either report it as something that is rumor, or you would report some rumor about it, right? You think it was Osiris that was chopped up? Oh, okay. Yeah, Dionysus is gosh darn it. Dionysus, that's Roman, right? Is that Roman? Greek? What? Also, some people are looking for excuses to be driven away. This is quite true. That is actually quite true. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you don't want to believe, right, then one way or the other, something is going to drive you away from whatever faith you do have or whatever it is that you've been taught. You have to have a desire to want to follow Jesus. I mean, belief doesn't make you a follower of Christ. The Bible says the devils themselves believe, but what does that profit them, right? It's not belief. It's a desire to follow God. The devils all believe in God. None of them desire to follow God. So that is, that's the sticky wicket, I guess you could say. Custom Elvis says, I initially became backslidden because of moving and getting depressed that first year of high school. It was rough, and I could have gone on the deep end, but I eventually came back. So you moved, I'm assuming you moved away from whatever the fellowship you had in the previous place and the people you had holding you accountable. I'm assuming something like that. You can feel free to expand, brother. Hello, Antonio. The amount of money some of these churches takes in bugs me, says Mr. Hellstrom. They should use more of it for teaching child care programs that get children involved and not in preachers' bank account. Yeah. There are some specific cases where I absolutely agree with you. I think that most of the money that comes into a church, hopefully their expenses aren't ridiculous, but any dollar that can be spent on ministry, on helping the poor and the fatherless and the widows and the fatherless, as the Bible says, is pure religion. That's where it should go. I love that. I always tell you guys about Francis Chan, right? This guy was the head of a mega church. And please, if you want to listen to somebody who's just sold out for Christ, just go on YouTube, search Francis Chan, and watch any of his videos. That guy is so sold out for Christ. He made millions and millions of dollars on a best-selling book and gave every dime to charity. Every dime. He left his mega church because because they were planning on building a bigger church building, and they were going to spend tens of millions of dollars doing this. And then it dawned on him that that's all money that could be going to help the poor and the needy. And so what he did instead was he started all over again. He started as a home fellowship and then grew to a mega church and then started again as a home fellowship. And every time his home fellowship gets too big, he's like, it's like cell mitosis, just like the early church, just like the first 3 centuries of the Christian church. It was home churches. They'd get too big for the home. One of those people would peel off as a leader, or maybe not one of the people, but maybe a group of those people would peel off and plant another home church. And if it gets too wieldy, 20, 30 people maybe, mitosis, split off, create another small home church. You have intimate fellowship. You have real relationships being built week after week. You have zero financial overhead. So go to helping the poor and the needy and to ministry and try to understand. Papa, can you help me not be frightened? Can you hear me praying every word I'm saying? Walk into the light, Carol Ann. Is it better? It's back. All right. Without rather not say, they made Noah's Ark replica that cost $300 million. $300 million, to quote Judas, but out of context. Why couldn't you give the money to the poor? That's how I felt walking into the Vatican, man. I felt like that, just like that, walking into the Vatican. I can't see the church doing that. Yeah. I can't. Thought I got raptured. What a weird concept. Imagine wanting to do good in the world, so you copy Disney. What? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can't. It seems like an awful, awful big expense. But you can't just feed the poor. You have to spread the gospel, right? Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word of the of the Spirit, basically, of the scriptures. Let's see. Custom says, I moved from one state to a new state, had to start fresh all over again. Yeah, that's hard. That is hard. And getting plugged into a new community, never easy. WK says, I was never driven away from church, but I did spend several years as the classic back row Baptist who sneaked in during the third song. It was ultimately because of me. I wasn't a mature Christian. Yeah. What does it mean, though, to be mature? What does it mean? And again, we keep falling back to this because we were talking about this on Sunday at youth group. What is your sure foundation? Right? What is it? Gosh, can you be completely convinced, but somehow just not have the drive or the passion to want to spend time with the Lord every day in prayer and His Word, and you start ignoring Him, and then you start ignoring His urgings, and then you start ignoring everything. And relationships have to be upheld. Relationships have to be worked on, and that's our job to develop that relationship with God. He's there. He's always there, and He's always willing to talk to us, but we have to be the ones willing to put the time in, right? To talk to Him, to talk to others about Him, to talk to each other about Him. We thought God took Custom Elvis. I did not get back to Jesus until 2003. So from 99 to 02, I was in a place where I was not really in the Word, praying, worshiping, having fellowship. I am thankful it never got worse and worse. Comics Forever says, yeah, it would be better to spend the money on building a Christian school than a Noah's Ark replica. I'd like to know. I'd like to know how that money has what the results of that are, right? I mean, are you just building a big ark and preaching to the choir, or are you bringing like school kids there and like they see how massive it is? My old church down in Point Loma, the Rock, it was built almost in the exact dimensions of the ark. So I can go there and look at that and be like, that is one big boat, right? So if you're bringing school kids there and kids that have been taught that the ark, oh, you couldn't fit all those animals, and all the typical arguments against the logistics of the ark, and it cements a faith in them, there's no dollar value you can put on that. $300 million is a drop in the bucket for God's kingdom, right? And if it's $300 million to save one soul, I'm pretty sure God would be okay with that, right? Yeah, the ointment on Jesus's feet was a year's wage. Yeah, and it was the faithless who said, "Why was not this sold?" So that he could steal the money, but whatever. I live about 90 minutes from the Ark. Most of the Christian schools in the region take field trips there every year now. And it probably does do a good job of cementing children's faith in there. I bet Noah spent less on the Ark than these people. He probably got all that gopher wood for free. Although I'm imagining Noah was probably a wealthy dude too. It wasn't good. It took too long and needed lots of things that they didn't have back in the day. It became a laughing stock. Well, I'm not going to judge. On the surface, it seems like a ridiculous expense, but, all things work for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And I believe that God, that applies to whoever was building the ark, right? Whoever was part of that whole thing. If they were people of devout faith, then all that works for good, ultimately. And honestly, seriously, $300 million to God is nothing. God owns the world. God owns the whole world. There's no amount of money that is too much or too little for him in the effort to save people. We are the value. There's no money in heaven, right? Nobody cares about money in heaven. We are what is eternal, and we are what is important. So now a pastor buying himself a $50 million mansion with security gates and releasing the hounds to keep people away from him when he's not preaching on television. I would say that's a totally different deal. Dark Admiral March Hare says, I'm sure there were people that laughed at Noah. I don't know if God called them to do this, so I'll withhold judgment. Right, exactly. I guess the Noah's Ark can be used for good. It's a good alternative to the atheistic Museum of Natural Histories. Exactly. Comics Forever. That's probably because they were making an Ark museum, not just a boat. Yeah, it'd be. Do they have a video tour I could see online? Because I'm not going to go all the way out there. If they had one here, if they had built that here, I probably would have visited it already with my kids. We have the Institute for Creation Research Museum is here in San Diego, and we've gone there. Actually, some kids from my church work there. So, the Ark was partially financed with tax breaks. The state gave them a special deal, hoping to make it up in tourism. So far, results are mixed. Interesting. God doesn't own Canada. He loves us and he gave us special dispense. God doesn't own Canada, Michael. God, that would explain a lot, wouldn't it? That would explain a lot about Canada. If the ark generates money, then that can go to help others. Then it's worth it in the long run. I get embarrassed about my belief in God. What? You do with hell, I'd rather not say? I wouldn't be able to say anything. Why? Why do you get embarrassed about your belief in God? Because the world is telling you you're wrong? Because all of those atheists, agnostics, and other thans who control the media are telling you that you're a fool? Yeah, get over that. Just keep in mind that anything someone doesn't believe, they will attribute to ignorance, foolishness, ignorance or foolishness, or in some cases malevolence, whatever. But you're going to disagree with people, right? And so whoever disagrees with you and whatever they disagree with you about, they're going to attribute it to you as either ignorance or foolishness in most cases. So you can't just want to agree with everybody. So agree with God, because he's cooler than they are. You and your family would love visiting the Ark. Yeah. All in all, we don't have that much in details of the Ark, just basic dimensions. We do have how many floors it had. We know the size of the window. We know, yeah, sort of basic stuff. We don't know exactly all of the logistics going into building a waste system or a recycling system, or we don't even know if the animals were awake or in some sort of a hibernation, or we don't know. Yeah, there's so much left out of that story. I wish God had spent a couple more chapters on it explaining all the specifics. That would have been great. How it does what the book of Nintendo don't. Michael says, God loves us up here and allows us to be free, but some crazy people gained control, and it's all messed up now. No, you're right. God does not own Canada. The communists do. So, I don't know. Do you want America to come up there and fix things for you? Because we could. You ain't burning the White House down again. I'm just telling you. I liken someone building a true spec arc to the place in France that's building a medieval castle with period tools. It's an interesting test of period engineering. Yeah, except for we don't know what the technology prior to the flood was. I actually believe technology prior to the flood was greater, more advanced than technology is today. Simply out of the fact, I mean, if you do the math here, Adam and Eve were created in the perfect image and likeness of God, right? They had perfect genetics. Their genes were 100% perfect because they were made in the image and likeness of God. Information degradation came in through the generations, but that would mean that their minds were the closest thing to perfect, the closest thing to God as well, which means they were a lot smarter than us. And their children were a lot smarter than us. And their children were a lot smarter than us. So all of these generations closer to perfection were way smarter than us. Think of an entire race of Albert Einsteins plus, right? And then you know that the older you get, the more stuff you learn, and the wiser you get, and the more you figure stuff out. These people lived 900 years. Don't tell me they couldn't figure out how to make machines and make life easier and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we don't know what the technology was prior to the ark. I think the greatest example of possibly information that continued on, that was passed on after that, and I think it's all been forgotten, is the building of the pyramids, right? We can't build the pyramids today with our technology today, but somehow they built it with that technology from back then that I believe was lost. I think we've spent many centuries and millennia destroying far greater knowledge than we have today. But that's just me. Something to think about. So as the ages of Noah, huh? Oh, the higher technology. That's a good point, withheld. Fixing Canada is simple. Not easy, but simple. Elect a William Shatner as Prime Minister. Hey now. I've got a picture of Will Shatner right there. Yes.
You know pans are. Like
Do I know where what?
Flat pans.
Flat pans?
Oh, where you put
the cookie sheets?
Yeah.
They're in the oven. Either the lower one. Yeah, the lower oven, the black one. They're in there. There should be. Smart enough people to be fooled by Lucifer. Well, if you think about it, with that, there also came a certain amount of naivete because they'd never experienced a lie before, right? You never experienced someone lying to you, and then suddenly someone's lying to you, deceiving you. I think I'll give her a pass on that. Comics Forever says, yeah, I think the pre-flood civilization was more advanced. I think the city that Cain built was advanced. Have you seen the Noah movie with Russell Crowe? Yes, I disliked that movie greatly, which upset me because I loved everybody in it, and it was a great production value, but it's just... We have lost the large whips the Egyptians had. Hello, boy. What you got there? Hey, I'm talking to you. Let's see what you got. Show the camera. You make that at school today?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Is that a bloody mouth bunny?
Well, too bright.
It's too bright to see. It looks like... Is his mouth stitched shut?
Mm-hmm.
That's disturbing. I don't know what's wrong with my children. Get out of here. Flat pans are real. Library of Alexandria is burnt. Yeah, that's a good example. Lightning fan. I think I disagree with the pyramids because they recorded how they were doing the work with pictographs, but it's an interesting theory to consider. The pieces, how they did the work, how they moved pieces, how they moved bricks, that's entirely possible. But how did they cut them with laser accuracy and then fit them together so perfectly and tightly that you can't slip a piece of paper in between two 70-ton bricks, right? It's yeah, I don't think they have pictographs for that part of the story. They probably had different technology. I know how to make a pyramid. Not sure if it's the same as the OG way, but I could with a ton of money. No, you couldn't, John Shaduster. I'm telling you, some of those bricks were 70 tons. They probably had some that were bigger. I think that's just like the average size brick on one of the Great Pyramids is a 70-ton perfectly cut. And they're all perfectly cut because they all perfectly align together, right? 1,000 people at each end of a saw wouldn't make a perfect cut. 1,000 people at each end of a saw couldn't make a perfect cut. Any chance that they sculpt them out and bake them in the sun? No, because they're made out of stone. They would have to lay those stones in place every 30 seconds to have done it in the time archaeologists suggest. Yeah, it's a lot of rocks. I think they're limestone. Not certain though. Let's look it up. Actually, how much time do we have? We do have to get to the topic of the day. Oh, yeah, we're past. Let's get to the topic of the day. This is an interesting... I love talking about the pyramids and stuff, but we do need to get to the topic of the day. And actually, we could probably even meld the subjects. So the topic du jour is Scientism isn't scientific. Theoretical physicist wins the Templeton Prize. C.S. Lewis, the screw tape letter. Sorry, let me get a drink of water first. Hey, Bruno. Hey, everybody. And the Great Pyramid is lined up to true north. I can make a perfect cut into lasagna every single time. All right. C.S. Lewis's The Screwtape Letters has a lot of amazing insights on the working of our enemy. But one of my favorites occurs when the demon undersecretary advises his nephew, above all, do not attempt to use science as a defense against Christianity. It will positively encourage your patient to think about realities he can't touch and see. There have been sad cases among the modern physicists. Of course, what Uncle Screwtape calls sad cases are wins for Christianity. One such case is Dartmouth theoretical physicist Marcello Gleiser, who was recently profiled by Scientific American. Gleiser is known for studying the properties of the early universe, the behavior of fundamental particles, and the origin of life. In other words, he's studying those realities we can't touch or see that Screwtape mentioned. To be clear, Gleiser calls himself an agnostic, not a Christian. Still, he's the latest recipient of the Templeton Prize, awarded to individuals who have made, quote, an exceptional contribution to affirming life's spiritual dimension, unquote. The reason is simple. Gleiser, unlike many science popularizers in our day, boldly admits that science has its limits and urges his fellow scientists to respect those limits. There's a metaphor he uses to illustrate this, which he calls the island of knowledge. It's also the title of a book he has written. He urges us all to imagine all the discoveries of science as a small island surrounded by an ocean of the unknown. The paradox of knowledge, he observes, is that as it expands and the boundary between the known and the unknown changes, you inevitably start to ask questions that you couldn't even ask before. In other words, science is so limited that not only are there many things we don't even know how much we don't know. Thus, the very best scientists are humble, recognizing the limits of their discipline and the understanding that science cannot offer answers about ultimate meaning, purpose, or moral truth. This is quite a contrast to many science popularizers who frequently wander off the island of knowledge into water way over their heads. Gleiser mentioned both Lawrence Krauss and the late Stephen Hawking, both known for making bold claims that science not only tells us how the universe exists, but why. Another well-known example is Carl Sagan, who famously began his Cosmos TV series with his pronouncement, "The cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be." All of these men were or are outspoken in their atheism, confidently declaring that science disproves the existence of God, or at least renders him unnecessary. Categorical statements of non-belief like this, says Gleiser, don't just go beyond the bounds of science. They're actually incompatible with the scientific method. This whole notion of finality and final ideas, he told Scientific American, is just an attempt to turn science into a religious system. Amen. There's a name for that religious system: Scientism. The belief that science is the only valid source of human knowledge. Instead of staying humble and curious, proponents of scientism insist that any question we can't answer in a laboratory isn't worth asking. In effect, they stand on the little island of knowledge and deny the ocean lapping at their toes. This reminds me of a debate between apologist William Lane Craig and Oxford chemist Peter Atkins. Atkins called science omnipotent. That's a divine attribute. According to him, there's nothing science cannot explain. Craig smiled, disagreed, then listed 5 things science can't explain: logical and mathematical truths, metaphysical truths like the existence of other minds and the external world, ethical values, aesthetic judgments, and most importantly, the scientific method itself. Gleiser may not be convinced yet of God's existence, but I do pray for the increase of this theoretical physicist tribe. We need more scientists who give faith a fair shake, and fewer advocates of scientism who think they already know all the answers. You know, it's interesting. As on my prayer walk this morning, I was wrestling with the question of aesthetics, of what on earth makes things beautiful, right? And I know that, there's all the balance, symmetry, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, there are beautiful things that are not symmetrical. There are beautiful, there's just a world filled with beauty, and we can appreciate it so much. But why do we? Right? What attracts our eye to just simple lines and simple shapes and simple design? It is really something inexplicable, I think. I don't think crocodiles sit there looking at flowers and just going, wow, that's beautiful. Right? Sagan believes in God like Einstein. He was a pantheist. Carl Sagan, with billions and billions and billions. So Carl Sagan came up with this theory of genetic memory. You know why he came up with the theory of genetic memory? Because he understood the historic and anthropological and archaeological fact that dragons exist in every culture on Earth. And he's like, well, there are 2 options here. Either dragons are dinosaurs and they lived alongside man, or I'm going to have to come up with some other theory that explains why dragons are ubiquitous in every culture on planet Earth. And therefore, he came up with the genetic memory excuse for why dragons exist in every culture on Earth. So genetic memory is that some precursor to the human race was the foodstuff of dinosaurs millions and millions of years ago, and somehow we all remember those dinosaurs chasing our great times infinity grandparents in our genetic genetic memory. And that's why every culture has dinosaurs in it. Every culture has dragons. Why couldn't ancient people simply dig up dinosaur bones? Because digging up bones and understanding how muscles and how understanding anatomy and physiology and muscles and fat tissue and skin tone and all the biological necessities you would need to take bones, put them together, and then come up with what those creatures would look like is all stuff we've only discovered in about the past century. Why else? It's sort of true though. Why else do animals run away when they see a predator they've never encountered before? Well, that is simply uh uh what's the word? Instinct. You're saying instinct? Instinct explains why every culture has drawings of dragons, sculptures of dragons, stories of dragons with specific descriptions of dragons that align with things like the Allosaurus from Marco Polo. Yeah.
Doesn't that just prove further that there was something? Because they would have had to have that ingrained in them in order for it to be instinct.
Wait, what?
Because they wouldn't just imagine something as instinct. It would be something that would be physically ingrained. Like, you know how the kids have natural reactions. Even if they've never seen a spider or snake before. If they see one, then they instantly get a fear response. That means it's instantly ingrained in them that they know that that's imprinted in their head. And that they've never seen it before, kind of like genetically.
So instinct.
Yeah.
But he's talking about Carl. You missed the. We're talking about Carl Sagan creating a theory called genetic memory, which explains.
Yeah, I know that one.
Okay. They didn't just start digging up fossils in the modern age. No, but they just started figuring out what dinosaurs looked like in the modern age. There is a theory that they would dig up some dinosaur bones and like create things like griffins, right? Like they take a triceratops. Hey, there's a dragon now. Like the bones of a triceratops or something, some sort of a beaked dinosaur, and they'd see that the head had a beak, but the body was like that of, the bones were like a lion's bones. So, you give it an eagle's head and a lion's bones, and I don't know where the wings came from, but stuff like that is one thing. But when you have descriptions, do I have to read Marco Polo's description of an Allosaurus again? Because it is a spot on description of an Allosaurus. Still makes more sense than abiogenesis. Yeah, abiogenesis is nonsense. I think it's possible some ancient culture knew how to partially reconstruct dinosaurs. I don't even want to go into this. Oh, there's 13 minutes left. You guys want to dig around once again? Yeah, is that a Bengal cat? No, we think we got him from the Humane Society, but we think he might have some Bengal in him. Not entirely sure. Max, hey, come here. Come here. Nah, he just wants to sit at the window. So you're saying dinosaurs breathed fire? I'm saying it's possible that some kind of a dinosaur, which let's just use the word they would have used 180 years ago, dragon. Dragons. Yeah. You have to realize that, well, not 180 years ago, the word dinosaur didn't exist until, I think, 1895 or something like that. Right? So about 125 years we've been using this word, dinosaur. Prior to that, everyone in mankind would describe these things as dragons. And they did. And they did. Come here. Hey, muck. They want to see you. This is Max. Hello, Max. Max, look right here. Look. Oh, he's a good boy. Go on, get on the chair. Fervent belief in that general consensus is what this topic is about. Scientific material. All right, let's get back to the dinosaur stuff. Genetic memory apparently explains people's instinctive fears of spiders, even though they're smaller than us. Instinct is not something separate from genetic memory. So having an instinctual fear of a thing and then having stories, drawings, and sculptures of actual dinosaurs, as science has figured out, would actually look, not the same thing. Right? That's not the same thing. You having an instinct to be afraid of a snake is not the same thing as having a memory of what dragons actually looked like. Pre-human mammals that evolved into humans. Again, this genetic memory thing, Carl Sagan just made it up because he can't grasp the idea that dinosaurs are not millions and millions and millions of years old. And the simple fact that we have dinosaur soft tissue proves that dinosaurs were not millions and millions and millions of years old, because otherwise it would have disintegrated on a molecular level. We have genetic soft tissue of dinosaurs today, and they find more every year. They keep cracking open new fossils, which are just bones. Obviously some of them are fossilized, but if it's got bone marrow in it, it's a bone. It ain't a fossil. I hate to break it to you. So no, the whole genetic memory thing, it's an excuse. It's an excuse, and it doesn't line up. So we have a genetic memory, what spiders and snakes are. No, you just have an instinctual... Actually, I don't even know if... Because a lot of kids aren't afraid of spiders. I think kids maybe are just afraid of anything creepy crawly. It's not just spiders. Like little kids, they'll either be afraid of or not afraid of little creepy crawly things. I've got 5 kids. I've been through this. Some of them will look at little creepy crawly things and be like, oh, how cute. Doesn't matter if it's a spider or a tarantula or a grasshopper or a pill bug. Others will be afraid of all of them. So some kids are afraid of creepy crawlies. Some kids are not. Most of my kids had no fear of snakes. Right?
I have fear of poisonous snakes.
But you didn't know. You wouldn't have known the difference. You can't naturally have a fear. If you're not naturally afraid of snakes, you're not then naturally afraid. These things are great. Let's talk about dragons. This isn't working as well as it used to. Oh. Not made for adults. Anyways, so humans and animals don't have instincts, Mike. Animals seem like they have a lot more instincts than humans do. And it's like run from predator. It seems like most animals instinctually run away from humans unless they've been domesticated. They have natural enemies, which they have natural fears from. Yeah, I mean, that's a weird thing. A lot of animal behavior is instinctual. It's essentially pre-programmed, right? Nobody teaches a bee the Morse code that they use to communicate with each other inside of the hive. It is all pre-programmed. But again, trying to take that level of instinct and use it as an excuse for why we have drawings, sculptures, and descriptions and stories of dragons in every culture on Earth, it's not the same thing. Wouldn't those instincts be genetic memories? again, you're trying to convolute the two. Withheld says, I'm pretty much a Christian who believes in evolution myself. Still not 100% though. Liam says, it's not true. They don't have instinctual fear. Please watch documentaries on wolves being reintroduced to Yellowstone. Their prey had no fear of them because they never saw wolves. I think that's interesting. That's interesting, Liam. But, I mean, I'm talking about something like bees are like legit come pre-programmed. Right? All the stuff that bees know the second they come out of larval stage is like, it's like they're little robots with completed programs on file, right? But they are the same, Mike. Why are you unable to see this? Because they're not the same. Coffee's Hunter. I don't understand how you can say I don't know how else to explain this. It's really interesting. They let wolves walk right up and kill them. It took a couple of generations for prey to adapt and learn to fear them. There you go. There you go. Very interesting. So it's not, that wouldn't be genetic at all, would it? Ah, you got the mystery pack in perfect condition. Right on, John Chidester. Feel free to buy more. I'm going to probably leave them up for another week, maybe. Humans used to think dinosaurs had scales like dragons, yet many had feathers. Many had feathers. No, they did not. Oh my gosh. Do you know how many of those feathered dinosaurs from China are complete fakes? There's a boom in business in China of making fake fossils. Look it up. Look it up. Because, you know, if you can find a fossil of a dinosaur with feathers, popping money. It's just like Piltdown Man, Nebraska Man, right? All of these fakes in the fossil record because people want to become famous. They want to make money. It's all crap, dude. It's all crap. Trying to force an agenda. Is Coffee Shunter. And saying humans used to think dinosaurs had scales like dragons. Scales like dragons? You mean like Chinese dragons? I draw dragons with scales. But Chinese have feathered dragons. Where's that one? Let me see. I don't know. I feel like this is the kind of thing, if you want to do a whole show, you go into the whole dragon thing. But we only have 2 minutes left. So I don't want to delve that deep into it. It's the same as humans being disgusted by something ugly. It's an instinctive reaction informed by our DNA because human associates disgusting things with disease. I don't think I agree with that, Coffee Thunder, because it's sort of the converse to what I was just saying. The beautiful... Why do we appreciate beautiful things? Right? And there are beautiful things that will kill you. Right? Snakes are beautiful. Snakes will kill you. Certain snakes. Right? There are lots of beautiful things that are poisonous and will kill you. Just because something's ugly doesn't make it deadly. And I don't know, the world is replete with just so many beautiful things. Beautiful things, things that you look at and you say, oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful and delicious. And then you pop it in your mouth and you die. So I don't know how that all works out. It was just something I was thinking about on my walk today. Even harmless snakes would kill if got the chance. How beautiful is a leopard, right? How beautiful is a lion? How beautiful is a wolf? Don't go pet any of those in the wild. So yeah, ugly and deadly, that theory just doesn't pan out at all. We get disgusted by ugly things because they're just ugly. I do all the time. Coffee Center. We don't walk up to snakes and stroke them. Like, yeah, I do. I mean, I'm very much attracted to snakes. At the pet store and whatnot, and I'd get another snake here, except for we killed the last one by trying to feed it a mouse, and
We killed it.
the mouse killed it. Don't blame me. I was just doing what you're supposed to do to snakes. You feed them mice. But yeah, it used to be young Earth creationists claimed God scattered dinosaur bones around to test our faith. I know that's such silliness. Can you judge us here? Can you go get him? The mouse won. Well, the mouse won and he lost because he's no longer with us either. Bright colors are used as warning for poison in nature. We learn from our parents even when they don't teach us, but how they act. Bright colors are also used on things that are delicious and things that are beautiful and harmless. If you're talking about snakes, there are brightly colored snakes that are poisonous, and there are brightly colored snakes that are not. There are brightly colored frogs that are poisonous and brightly colored frogs that are not. It's an inconsistent algorithm, so to speak. Cobra is a beautiful snake. It is. Not brightly colored at all, by the way. The Spitty Dino in Jurassic Park had a beautiful colored fan around its neck. It spit on Newman and ate him in the Jeep. It's true. I didn't kill the snake. I was just feeding it. It's not my fault it choked on a mouse, all right? Jeez. I should have skinned that snake and kept the skin. That would have been cool. We buried it instead. But it's natural selection, Mike. It's the DNA of humans who avoided befriending lions who survived. The humans who did, unfortunately, got eaten, so their DNA didn't survive. Okay. Hey, buddy. What are you looking for? Poop? Sorry. Fresh out. All right. Well, I think that's an hour, guys. This was fun. Maybe I will do another one of those dragon shows, and I'll like get a bunch of dragon stuff lined up. That is fun. Should I go out with my Doctor Who outro? Woo! By the way, if you do want to support this channel, support me through my business. Go into the description there. You can back the Mag 6-Gun Samurai deal with the Devil Indiegogo. You can back the Mike Miller Mystery Pack, still available for probably another week. And there are donation links down there. I don't ask you to make donations, but I'm not going to stop you either. Anyways, thanks, guys, for being here. And let's do the... Oh man, I can't even stop the broadcast.